kind of rush through this because again, I will get a better camera, I promise, but the light's going down. It gets dark early, obviously, because of the time, whatever. What's that thing called again? The thing that makes no sense, but we have somehow. What's that thing called? Daylight savings. Bruh. Ridiculous. Okay, hey y'all, welcome to my channel. Welcome to the new video. I'm so excited to be doing this. So if you are new here, hi, my name is Victory, and after being underpaid in corporate for many years, I decided to take one of my numerous side hustles and turn it into my full-time business. So in January 2021, I quit my full-time job. I was working in tech. I was making 6 figures. I was pretty much at the peak of my career where most people aspire to be. I was the head of my department, but I still wasn't happy. And so I decided to quit my job and focus on my business full-time. And it has been such a great journey, and just recently celebrated a milestone of helping my clients generate over $1 million in sales. Insane, because most of my clients also had 9-to-5s or are still in their job and looking to transition full-time. In my channel, you're going to find a bunch of videos where I talk about business, I talk about lifestyle. Right now, we're in a home series because I recently just bought a home with my husband here in the Bay Area. And if you haven't caught my moving vlog yet, be sure to check that video. I posted that as my first video back on this channel, which I've had for a very long time, but I have neglected. And now I'm like, let's do this thing, okay? So catch that video if you haven't yet. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about our home buying process. So on my moving vlog, I mentioned this, and I had one comment, okay? One comment, but honestly, I felt like this was still a great video to do. It was a chance for me to really show you guys what that journey looked like, and also just show you guys the previous homes that we saw, what they looked like, why we chose not to go with the homes, how many offers were put in, how many homes we saw. Just kind of give you guys an idea of what it is, especially here in the Bay Area. So to keep this video short, let's just get into it. So the day was August. And that was when we finally decided to start looking for homes. So we've talked about buying a home before here in the Bay Area. It kind of seemed like a pipe dream, I'll be honest with you guys, but officially to reality now. And I'm sitting in our guest room, which, by the way, I would do a video giving you guys a before and after of what the room looked like before and what it looks like now. It was August when we decided to take it seriously, and what we did was essentially save a couple of homes on Zillow. We didn't really know how to get in touch with an agent, so we were like, you know, let's just go on Zillow, save the homes. Maybe we would go to the open houses by ourselves. But as we were saving homes, I believe Zillow asked to save the home and like contact other people, I believe. And so when I did that, and we got a message from a realtor agency, and then they were like, hey, are you interested in seeing these homes? I'm like, yeah, we'd love to see these homes. Here are the list of homes we want to see. And so they were like, cool, we'll get in touch with one of our agents. And so that's how we kind of found our realtor. It wasn't like a recommendation or anything. Like, we didn't ask friends or family or anyone to say, hey, do you have a recommendation? We kind of just went on Zillow, searched, saved a couple of homes, said, yes, I would like to get in touch with someone. And then we kind of got connected with our realtor. And she was absolutely amazing, absolutely phenomenal. And honestly, like, really good when it comes to being a first-time home buyer, because we obviously were buying for the first time in the Bay Area. We didn't know what to expect. And she was just so knowledgeable. From our first meeting, it was absolutely impeccable. So that's kind of how we got that started. And one thing I also want to say, just as a caveat as well, is the Bay Area is a different market. So if you're watching this and you're in a different state or a different country, for you guys who don't know, I'm Canadian, and I recently moved to the US about 2.5 years ago, and it was a shock. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the homes that we saw, I was like, why is this home built in the 20s? Like, I was truly not ready for the market, especially when it comes to like the fact that there is no space in the Bay Area. So it kind of makes sense that a lot of the homes are older. But I came from a suburb in Canada called Brampton. And when I tell you, like, there's a lot of space, okay? Canada in general is a big country, and there's a lot of space. There's a lot of land. And so, I mean, every time I drive home, there's a house being built, right? So I was kind of used to the process of new homes are built. If I was to ever buy a home, it would be a new build. But being in the Bay Area, realizing that there isn't space, I kind of had to accept the fact that that wasn't a thing, right? So just to give you guys a caveat, everything I share in this is obviously based on my experience, but also just in the Bay Area. So let's kind of start with the things that we wanted in a home. If you guys see me keep looking over here, I had to write my notes down because I don't want to go off tangent in this video. I really wanted to be straight to the point and concise. So the list of things that we wanted in a house was, number one, a good neighborhood. I love quiet. I'm not a city girl. I know people love the city. I like to see the city from afar. Like, that's kind of me, right? So I wanted a quiet neighborhood, and didn't want it to be in a space that had a lot of action. I wanted to sleep at night. I didn't want to hear my neighbors partying. I didn't want to hear cars driving. I really just wanted to come home and have my home be a sanctuary. And so that was a top thing for me. Another one was we wanted to be somewhere in the hills. Well, I particularly wanted to be somewhere in the hills. I'm all about the views, right? And being in the Bay Area, I really felt like if we were going to be in the Bay Area, we should get a home where it actually was in the hills and it had really great views, because where else are you going to get a house where you can get some nice views? Let's be honest, right? So I wanted somewhere in the hills. And then also 4 bedrooms. 4 bedrooms was kind of our minimum for us, or maybe maximum, I would say. I don't want to say minimum, because when we were searching, it was kind of difficult based on our budget, what we're finding. Obviously now we have our home, I'm like, okay, minimum, but no, it actually wasn't minimum. I would say it was 4 beds max. And I really wanted a closet. If you guys know what closet is, it's essentially a room where it's your closet and your office, and I really wanted one. And then we also wanted a space that was bigger than our apartment. So the apartment we were in was about 1,500 square foot. And so we wanted something that was 2,000 max, right? So we were like, okay, well, minimum rather. We said to ourselves, if we can get a place that's 2,000 square foot minimum, we'll be happy. Also went in the backyard, but we also knew, like, by being in the hills, yes, you might have a big lot size, but most of it are trees and unusable. But if we could get a house with a backyard, we would have been like extremely happy. And then also parking for 2 cars. Right now I don't have a car, but I do plan to get my own car, so we wanted to have parking for that. We also wanted open concept. So I didn't want a house that felt boxy. I wanted something that was open, that had a lot of light in. I didn't want to feel like I had to get bajillion, light bulbs in order to make my home look good. And so I wanted something open concept. And then with the way the Bay Area was set up, we honestly didn't think we would buy a home that wasn't built within the past 60 to 100 years. And I know that's insane when I'm saying it, but guys, like, a lot of the homes that we saw, I think the youngest home we saw was 30 years. Actually, that's a lie, because I'm 30. No, the youngest home we saw was definitely like 40 something years old. The oldest home we saw was over 100 years old. And so because we're in the Bay Area, we knew that that was kind of the range of age for us. So our home would be like between like 45 to like 100. And so we just wanted a home, whether it was old or not, that didn't require a lot of renovation. I didn't want to feel like I had to break down the whole house to make it feel like a home. So that was also on our list. So those are the top things on our list to give you guys there. So let's kind of start with the first home that we saw. So this was August 29th at 9:22 a.m. This was the first home that we ever saw in the Bay Area with our agent. When we were seeing the home with her in this moment, we still didn't really know whether or not we're going to go with her. So this was our first like introduction to like the real estate market in the Bay Area. So instantly, I didn't like the house because of where it was located, but also was kind of closed off, right? So you guys can see that the kitchen was kind of boxed in a corner somewhere, so I wasn't really feeling that. Also, the laundry was off the kitchen, and when we got there, apparently our agent mentioned that the door actually couldn't open fully. So in my mind, I'm like, this is going to be annoying. I mean, I don't do laundry. That's something that my husband does. However, like, that's kind of annoying to have to figure out a way to get into the laundry. So that was also kind of annoying. But again, these were more just like personal preferences. It wasn't like, okay, this is an absolute, we can't buy this house because of X amount of reasons. But again, when you're buying a home and you're investing in something, you kind of want to make sure that you love it there, right? So that was a thing for me. And then the part that really had me say like absolutely no was the fact that the master bedroom did not have its own bathroom. So the bedroom was here, the bathroom was outside, and then there was another room as well that had 2 beds. And initially I was like, cool, whatever, we'll just like break it up, kind of renovate it. But then there was the staircase was literally in between the master bedroom and the other bedroom. So that was kind of a no for me. And again, like trying to renovate a house as your first property, like it just didn't make any sense to pay a lot of money for the home, but then also a lot of money to renovate. So essentially we kind of decided that this was not going to be a house for us. So that was a no. And then the second home, this one was a 4-bed and also a 2-bath. It was $1,790. So this was a lot smaller, but it had enough parking for 9 cars. It wasn't like an actual garage, but it was like a long driveway that could actually have 9 cars. It was built in 1967, and the lot size was almost 8K. So kind of like similar to the other one, except the difference with this one was most of it was actually unusable because it was all trees. So although this house was smaller than the square footage that we wanted, which was again 2,000, I actually love this home, and this was the first home we put an offer in. This was literally our second home that we saw, and we put an offer in it. And it says a lot about my personality. Like even when I was getting married, I tried on 3 dresses and I picked one. Like that's just me, right? I just don't like options. And so after this one, I was like, this home has what I want. It's nice. It's 4 bedrooms. Yeah, it's smaller, but it's still like a nice house for a first home. And if you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw when I posted this boomerang. That was literally like me in the house, like, oh, this is a nice place or whatever. So for me, I really love the view. I love the fact that the room right by the entrance was big enough to be my closet, right? So it was a big room. And fun fact, that used to be the garage or the carport, and they transformed it into a room because the initial home was 3 beds. And then I love the master bedroom. So I really wanted a house that had a standalone tub. Sad face, our current home doesn't have one, but I do have plans on getting one in there eventually, okay? But I wanted a home that had a stand-in shower, but also like a tub where I can soak, and this was perfect, right? It had it. I love the colors. I just love everything about the home. So what exactly happened to this house? Well, what happened was we put in an offer, and one thing to know about the Bay Area is that homes actually generally sell way above listing price. I wish I had the percentage for you guys, but I'll give you guys the numbers. So on average, I would say homes sell for about like 300 to 500K, and sometimes can go up to $1 million over asking. Insane. It's very competitive. There's a lot of money in the Bay Area. There's a lot of people that have a lot of cash in their bank accounts, just throwing 2 mil plus at homes in cash. It's insane. So competition is definitely there. And so usually what happens is, and one thing I had to find earlier on is the listing price obviously is not what it's going to go for, right? And I obviously understood that a bit, but I just didn't expect it to be like 400 over asking. You know, it's like, that is insane when you think about it. I wasn't really expecting it to be, you know, 400K plus over asking. I was like thinking like 50, 75K. So anyways, that's just like usually what it was. So we put in an offer and we decided to go 300K over asking. So we put in an offer with 300K over asking. And of course the seller wanted to go higher because like who wouldn't want their home to sell for high, right? But it just didn't make any sense for us, especially because it was smaller than what we initially expected for a home. It was $1,790. It wasn't that much bigger than our current apartment. Yes, it had more bedrooms. Yes, it technically looked like it had more space because it was a bungalow versus our apartment, which was 2 floors. It just didn't make any sense. So we were kind of like set on like, this is our offer, take it or leave it kind of thing. So essentially the seller was like, nope, it appraised at a higher value. He said based on our offer, it actually appraised at 100K more than what we offered. And so he wanted something at that level. And we were just like, nah, we're good. So we essentially decided to walk away from that. And we're actually glad that we walked away because throughout the entire wait period, we started to find out a lot of things. And one thing I'm going to say to you guys as well is when you're buying a home, look at the price history. It's extremely important because you're probably going to find out a lot of things that you wouldn't know if you didn't actually check the price history. So while we did that, we noticed that he bought the home essentially in like April, and then he put it on the market by like July, August. So it's kind of a 4-month flip. And to me, that was kind of concerning because like he clearly didn't do anything with the foundation. The foundation clearly must have been, you know, it's going to be the same one that was there in, what year was it built again? This was built in 1967, right? So it would have been the same foundation from 1967, and we just weren't really sure what was covered in the rush to resell it. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise. I was really sad for a while. Y'all. Perfect location. It was just amazing. The view was amazing, and I'm all about the views. But based on the home we have right now, we have more space. We have a better view. We have more of a view versus just trees. So it was worth it. But that was that home. Okay. So let's go to house number 3. Now, house number 3 was a dream. Like, it was 4 bed, it was 4 bath, it was 2632 square footage. It was built in 1988. And I think it was kind of the youngest home we saw. It had 2 garage spaces. The lot size wasn't that big though. So the lot size is about 5,000, but it's fine. The space, the view, the location, it was a dream. And as soon as we walked in, we knew that this was not going to be for us. Mainly because we knew it was going to sell a ridiculous amount. We were like, this is the kind of home that sells like 500K to 1 million over asking. And we were just not trying to play that game, okay? So it was still nice to walk in. It was nice to look at. They did a great job with the home, with the space and everything. But fun fact, our current home is actually bigger than this home that we're looking at, which is insane when you think about it, because I feel like our builders had a lot of space and they didn't really build properly. But it's fine because, again, like, we didn't commission the build. We kind of bought the home as a new build, right? So that was really like a mind-blowing thing for me to realize as I was prepping for this video, was like, holy shit, our house is bigger. But it's not that much bigger, I promise, but it's still bigger. Even for that space, I feel like they could have done so much more, but it's fine. We're in a house now. We love it. I'm obsessed. Okay, so house number 5. So on this day, we saw about 6 to 8 homes, which on average was pretty much what we saw every Sunday. So with this one, it was a contender for the both of us. So it was smaller bedroom wise. So it was a 3 bed, it was a 2 bath, it was 2,050 square foot. It was built in 1962, 2 parking spaces, and it had an almost 10,000 square foot lot. So it was nice and quaint. And also had a wraparound deck that was pretty cool. But then we found out that the primary bedroom was actually upstairs. So when we walked into the house initially, we thought the primary bedroom would be like a guest bedroom or a kid's bedroom. But we found out that it was actually the primary bedroom because the previous owners had an au pair and it gave her the entire downstairs, which I thought was pretty cool, but also like, wait, what? I would love to sign up for that job if they're still hiring. They gave her the whole downstairs to herself. And so based on that, logistic wise, it just didn't make sense. And we wanted a home that we can live in for like 5 years before we find another place, which will hopefully be our forever home. And this home kind of seemed like we would outgrow it in 2 years, especially once we have kids and stuff like that. It just didn't make sense to, you know, share a bathroom with our kids, share a bathroom with our guests. I'm also like not big on having your kids leave their rooms when you have guests come over. I want to have a dedicated guest room and have my kids have their own room. And so based on that, the entire layout just didn't work out. So that was a no for us. So house number 6 of the day, this home was in the downtown area and I called it the skinny house because of how really tiny it was. And this was the youngest home that we saw. So I know I said the previous home was because it was a 1988, but this one was actually built in 2016. And this was a 3-bed, 2-bath, and it was 2290 square foot. It had 1 attached garage, so obviously we didn't have 2 for 2 cars. And it had a 2613 square foot lot, which meant they essentially used up the entire lot space to build the home. As soon as I got to the neighborhood, I knew that I did not want to live there. That was just for me. I was like, this is too much action going on for me. It was downtown and I was like, nah, I like to visit downtown, but I'm not really sure I want to live there. But I was intrigued anyway, so we walked into the home, and one thing about this house is this house had a twin right next to it, and what essentially happened was a developer came, broke down one house, and then they built 2 homes on the same lot, right? So based on the location, based on the space, based on the amount they were asking for it, it didn't make any sense for us to make an investment in this house, because for me, I'm always thinking about the future, and I was like, okay, even if I buy this home based on what they're listing it at or what they're asking for, when we're trying to sell it, it just doesn't seem like it would be a good investment. And also, again, checking the price history, I saw that the buyer, the seller rather, bought the home for more than he was listing it for. And he bought it in 2016 when it was really, newly built. So that's 5 years ago, right? So in 5 years, the home clearly didn't appreciate much. Even when he was asking for it, I knew it wouldn't go for that price. And when we checked after to see what it sold for less than he bought it for. So if you think about that, he lost money in the past 5 years. So buying the home, we just were like, nah. So whoever bought the home, I wish you the best. So we walked away from that home, and I think that was the last home that we saw for the day. So if I obviously decided to show you guys all the homes that we visited, this would be an extremely long video. Not only is my camera a hater, so it's not going to record it, but what I wanted to do for the second half of this video was essentially show you guys homes that were memorable for the both of us. So let's move on to September 5th at 9:01 a.m. This was the wooden house. So we actually had names for homes that we saw, just giving it different names. Because we saw so many homes, it was a really easy way for us to remember which home we were talking about. And we can't say, oh, remember the house that had like the staircase? No, it's like, let's just give them names. So we had the skinny house, and this was the wooden house. And the reason why it was wooden was because it had wood pretty much everywhere. And a fun fact, this house was on Pine Needle. That was a street. So you can't make this up. This house was on Pine Needle. It was the wooden house, okay? So this was a 4-bed, it was a 3-bath, it was 2592 square footage, it was built in 1983, it had 2 attached garage spaces, and it had a bit over 10,000 square foot lot. So the space was essentially what we wanted. And I actually wanted to put in an offer to this home. Yes, now that I think about it, I'm like, wait, why? At this point, I was exhausted. Even though this was literally the second weekend we started looking, I was already like, I don't want to do this anymore, just give me a house already. And I also saw potential, and obviously, like I learned earlier on, that potential is really not it, especially in the Bay Area, because contractors charge an arm and a leg. My realtor, I think she mentioned that her daughter like had to pay like 40 to 50K to renovate her kitchen. And I was like, and I was like, this house has potential. We can restructure the kitchen. We can, no, that would have cost like 200K plus, right? So yeah, I asked them that earlier on, but I saw potential and I really wanted the house. But after a while, discussing it with Dio, it just didn't make any sense. So we walked away from that one. And then the next one on the list is the one that Dio really liked. This was a 4-bed. It was a 3-bath. It was 2,093 square foot. Built in 1958, and it had 2 parking spaces, and the lot size was about 6K. So one thing about this house was the owners had specific taste, and it really reminded me of Betty Draper's house in Mad Men, because it was very, very 60s, 50s, the cooker, even though it was really like updated and new and the latest and greatest, the design was the 60s. And Dad really liked it. It was it was all retro and stuff like that. And I was just like, you know, like it's cute, but that's not my vibe, right? And that's one thing to note about a home as well is, you know, when you're getting a house and you're designing a house, you're going to design it based on your vibe, right? But when it comes to selling, you kind of have to find someone who likes that vibe, or someone who's willing to come in, gut it, redo it, whatever that looks like. And again, I learned earlier on that contractors are very expensive in the Bay Area, so I kind of wanted a house that was a blank slate, and I felt like this home had too much character in it that wasn't my character. So after discussing it with Dayo, he was sad because he really liked it. We decided not to put an offer into this home as well. So let's go into the next house, which was one of my favorites, even though it was older. Well, okay, that's a lie. It wasn't older. It was just decrepit, essentially. It was one of the homes that had to be a complete gutter. You had to like literally redo everything. And again, this was before I learned about, you know, contractors and how expensive it is. I will walk into homes and I'll be like, I can see the potential. We're gonna make this a great home. And then Daya's just like, sure. And I wrote to her, was like, yeah, let me just like give you a tea on this entire real estate market here. Okay, so I had to learn earlier on. Anyways, I was interested in the house because it was in a great location. So even in the Bay Area, you probably know the Sequoia Hills. Very nice, very sought after neighborhood. It has one of the last homes, which is like the Eichler style. I don't want to go into much detail about the history of the designer, or the architect rather, but it was a really, really lovely neighborhood, and the house itself was great in terms of like the space was there. It had its own like dining room area, which I've always wanted, and unfortunately this house doesn't have. And I was just like, okay, this house, like as much as it's old and like needs to be redone, and there's so much that can be like, there's a lot to do with it. I was like, I just truly feel like this is what I want. And it was literally $300,000 below our budget listed, right? Of course, we knew that we had to maneuver a bit, and we were thinking, okay, because of the condition the house is in, perhaps we can maybe like give 100K over asking. But you know, anyways, let's just get into it. So we saw the house before it was a market, so we saw it privately before it actually got on the market. And so we wanted to put in a preemptive offer because we were like, hey, I was like really gung-ho about this home, y'all. Like I could see the potential. I was like, I put a pool here, it's kind of on a flat land. And at that time, the homes we were seeing were on the hills, which of course I wanted to be in the hills, but I started to realize like there's a lot of hills. I wanted to be in the hills, but not necessarily on a hill, if that makes sense. Like I wanted to still be kind of flat. And this home had everything. It was in the hills, it was a nice neighborhood, it was flat, and I could see myself putting a pool in there. It had a great view and everything. But the realtor was pretty confident she was going to sell it above asking. Hey y'all, so my camera kept overheating and dying, so I'm just going to do this house on the voiceover. So this home was my absolutely favorite, and I know I've said this a lot in the video, but I actually really was obsessed with this house. Number one, it was so bright, the ceilings were high, it was in a great location, it was a good space, it was listed at a lower price, and I actually thought that we would be able to get it. Fun fact, the house actually sold less than our budget. Now, the reason why we walked away from this home was because it had $75,000 worth of termite problems. Now, the thing about being in the hills is obviously there's surrounded by trees, there's a lot of animals, there's a lot of termites, there's a lot of things. It's insane. When you're in the hills, all the trees around you. And so with the $75K worth of termite problems, it just didn't make any sense for us. And even if we were to invest that amount of money to get rid of it and buy the home, in the disclosure, we found out that it was actually a monthly process. So the previous owners, every single month, had to have someone come in and spray the entire home. Now, for a first-time house, it truly made 0 sense. And our realtor was like, I would advise against going with this home. And honestly, I'm glad we listened to her, because I can't even imagine right now having to book someone to come next month to essentially spray the entire house. But here's a house for you guys. It was absolutely beautiful. It was a great location, like I mentioned. Space was great. 4 bedrooms, 4 bath. And the good thing about this home was it had more space beyond just the bedrooms, which I really appreciated. But we had to walk away from the home, of course, because it was just not worth it. But yeah, guys, every time as I'm looking at this video, I'm just like, oh my God, if only it didn't have termite issues, we would be living in this house right now, most likely. But again, the reason why I wasn't as competitive was because of the termite issues. Perhaps if it didn't have termite issues, we would have had to bid God knows what for the home. So it is what it is. But anyways, yeah, hope you guys really enjoyed this, and I'll catch you soon. So let's just get into the key takeaways. So this is obviously more towards the Bay Area, of course, or anywhere where there's a lot of older homes. But my first one would be to check the disclosures before you fall in love with the home. And this is something I had to learn after a while. There were so many homes that I really fell in love with. As soon as I walked in, I was like, this is the house. I don't care what else I have to see. I want this home. Only to read the disclosure and realize that there's just a lot of damage. For example, one of my favorite homes, and I was like obsessed with this house, and I was like, I don't care if it's on the hilly area. I don't care if I can't see my damn backyard. I want this home. It had like $75,000 worth of termite problems that we had to pay for. And then not only do we have to pay the $75K worth of termite problems, it would have to be a consistent monthly update. So that was very expensive, so that was a no-go. So be sure to check the disclosures, especially if you're buying a home for the first time. You definitely want to do that. This is another one as well that we fell in love with, that me and Dio both loved. But we had to fix the driveway, which is a 25 to 50K investment. So many things that kind of came after we saw the home. I would definitely recommend checking the disclosures first. And after a couple of homes that I loved, and obviously it broke my heart when I couldn't get them because of the disclosures, I started reading the disclosures first and then sending it to my realtor saying, okay, this checks out, let's go see the home. The second one will be to find a realtor who is knowledgeable about the area, not just the expertise of being a realtor, if that makes sense. So ours was phenomenal, and the things that she told us to keep an eye out for, I never would have thought of, obviously being a first-time home buyer. So you really want to make sure that you have someone who is not only knowledgeable about, you know, the market in general, but also about what to look for, like homes. Like she would say so many things that I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. Great. She was so knowledgeable and really made this entire process so much easier for us. And then the final one would be, don't judge a book by its cover. So don't judge a home by its listed photos. So we most likely would have missed out on our current home if we had relied on the listed photos only. The listed photos were terrible. Absolutely terrible. Like when I saw it and my realtor sent it to me, I was like, what is this? I don't want to see this house. The camera that was used, I have no idea. The home staging was not really well done. There's just a lot that I was just like, it doesn't seem like it has a great view, but like the house itself just doesn't seem that nice. But we still decided to come see it, and as soon as we walked in, I knew this was my home. I was like, this is it. Yep, there it is. And I was truly flabbergasted that this was the same house that I saw in the listing photos. So I would definitely recommend not to judge a listing by its photos. Also, if you are a seller, please hire proper home stagers. Please hire have a nice photo, right? You really want your house to sell. And this home was on the market for a while, and it was mainly because people were judging it by the listing price. And when I say a while, homes in the Bay Area generally sell within the first couple of days, like 7 days, 2 weeks max. This was on the market for longer than 2 weeks, which is why I say for a while. Again, the Bay Area, like homes are on the market, they have an open house that weekend and then it's gone, right? So don't judge a book by its listing photos. But that is pretty much the end of the video. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. This was really not really like, I'm not really educating you guys. Like this is not an educational video, so please don't take everything I said and go use it and then like it doesn't work out. This is just me sharing my experience about buying a home in the Bay Area. So I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. If there's any other video you guys want to see, let me know. I'm currently in our guest room and I will be doing a video giving you guys the before and after of what this looks like. So this went through a paint change, but also like decor, of course. So stay tuned for that video. And if you are watching me for the first time, if you really like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and set that notification bell on so you can be notified when I post more videos. I hope you guys enjoyed once again, and I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta!